What is going on, everybody? I'm your host, Grayson, and I would like to welcome you to the 4th episode of Cosmic Complexity, an episode that we finally have my co-host on the show with me, Trenton Messer. We actually got our schedule together and everything. But before we go into this episode and what we're going to be talking about this episode, I wanted to really quickly address the audio issues with the last episode. We were trying to use 2 different microphones, and it kind of messed it up. My co-host was sitting like directly across from me, and he sounded like he was on a telephone from like hundreds of miles away. So I apologize about that. It's a little inconsistent. It kind of moves back and forth. We're not going to be doing that. Trent is not going to sound like that. We're currently sitting like knee to knee, and it's quite comfortable, honestly. I feel cozy. But I'd also like to introduce Trent. Trent, you can talk now.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, we definitely are sitting knee to knee. It's it's pretty intimate, honestly. It's kind of nice.
Really intimate. This is the kind of vibe that I was wanting. Every time I have a guest on the show, like if we have a third person, they're gonna have to sit on our laps basically, and I think that adds a very comfortable vibe to it. But I'd like to say, like, the last couple of episodes have been really interesting. I feel like we're kind of trying to figure out the vibe of this show, and it's not meant to be super political, super like smart and like, I know this and I'm a genius, and it's very casual. It's very laid back. Like I don't want the conversations we have to be all super scientific and all like super theological, or which, depending on the person, like if we're talking to somebody who believes in Scientology, like, yeah, if they want to go into science, sure. But I do want these episodes to be pretty laid back, which is kind of the idea of this episode. Last week we talked about cryptids, we talked about Bigfoot. Wesley shared his story about Bigfoot, and if you were able to stomach that episode, I was listening to it earlier today. It sounded good, but it's not as good as I wanted it to sound. Definitely sounds kind of rough, but it helps that my voice is smooth and silky throughout the entire episode. I think that really helps with it. Trent hasn't listened to a single episode.
No, I've not. I've gone around to. Well, I mean, to be fair, though,
sent you them.
They haven't even been released yet, so it's not really my fault.
Yeah, we're shooting this in. Is it May now?
No, it's still April.
Is it April? We're shooting this in April, so they're coming out in July. So we're gonna start off. We're just gonna dive into who Trent is. Trent, would you like to share who you are? What do you believe? What do you do?
Yeah.
Don't share any personal information.
Yeah, my social security number. Yeah, no. So I'm 20 years old.
Nice.
I've been. Yeah, I'm going to college right now. Yeah, it's a community college. I'm enjoying that. It's going pretty good. But as to what I believe, I've been a Christian for most of my life, and I guess I'm a Southern Baptist. And yeah, so I was saved when I was pretty young.
How old were you when you saved? I don't know.
This. I was 8. And yeah, I was just kind of had some questions about faith and Christianity, and I wanted to give my life to the Lord, and yeah, so I talked to my parents about it, and my dad actually got to baptize me, so that was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, so of course, I've had a lot of growth since, and I've grown my faith a lot, and I still have some more growing to do. I'm not perfect, nobody is, but yeah, and as to kind of more of what I believe, I just believe in yeah, I mean, just that the world is broken, and that we can see that all around us, but through Christ and through having faith in him and in his sacrifice on the cross, we can kind of, obviously that brokenness won't be perfectly fixed, but we can be healed and forgiven of our shortcomings and all this kind of stuff. And yeah.
Nice. Yeah, me and Trent, we've been friends for 5 years, 6 years, something like that.
I think almost 6 years.
Because we met when you were a freshman.
Yeah, it was because I moved here the second half of my freshman year, and started kind of going to the same church, same youth group, and
so we both grew in faith around the same time, and we've had a solid relationship. We're definitely the two who will just go do the most random things.
Oh, yeah.
Like as of today, we ate wings that we made, and they were way too hot.
Man. Well, we made teriyaki ones and then barbecue wings, and those were fine. They were good.
They were good.
Then we made some that were like, I mean, they were bad.
They were not good.
They were bad.
They were good, but they were hot.
Yeah.
We called them Satan's Semen.
Yep.
That was the name of them.
That was the name of them.
And so me and Trent, we both grew up in the same church. We both have very similar beliefs, and of course, I wanted Trent on the show. He's my best friend, so if there's anyone that I want to be sitting knee to knee with, it's someone that I trust when it comes to his opinion and also his ability to talk to people with respect. And I think that's really important. There's a lot of people that I would love to have on the show, but I fear for how they will talk to people. And Trent's very quiet. He's very patient, and he loves to listen to people. And he's done a lot of different works, and I love having him on, and I love hearing what he thinks. So I think his opinions and his mindset, he believes in the similar things that I do, but we also have different perspectives. And I think that having him around for every episode is going to be great. Hopefully from now on, we can figure that out. But episode 4, now that was the goal to have before we hit the due date of July 1st, which you guys have already heard. But for us, that's like, my goal is to get at least a month's worth of content shot before we hit that point, and we're well ahead of that, which I like. But it's good to hear you, Trent. It's good to hear you on this show finally.
Definitely.
We've been trying for several weeks. It's been a
schedule just haven't lined up until now, so
which hopefully we can find a consistent time to do this. But for now, it's just kind of we're winging it, with that wind by our sails. But going into this episode's kind of concept and idea. So last week we talked about Bigfoot, Trent. And first off, I guess we'll do this. Like, do you believe in Bigfoot, Trent?
For most of my life, I've lived with the opinion that, of course, Bigfoot doesn't. It's fun to tell the stories and the scary campfire stories. And I'm like, yeah, Bigfoot, but he doesn't really exist. It's just made up. But after talking with some other people that do think he exists, I was honestly kind of surprised to even realize that this was like a debate,
So you grew up thinking Bigfoot was completely fake.
Oh yeah, I saw the Finding Bigfoot TV shows, and I was like, I thought it was kind of interesting. It was like funny. It was fun to watch.
It was pretty funny.
But yeah, these like redneck guys, running around the forest with their night vision goggles and stuff.
It's the same thing. It's like Ghost. The Ghost Stories or whatever it's called. So you grew up kind of not believing. What do you think now? Like, well, still on the fence about it, or
I think I definitely have more of a understanding to people who think that Bigfoot is real. Like I see the argument of like, it could just be some crazy creature that just exists and this kind of thing. And I know that I guess I need to whenever
I'll send you the
episode. Yeah, you can send me the episode, but I guess I can listen to it and hear Wes's argument for it and hear his story. Yeah. But I do know some people who believe in Bigfoot, and they're people that I respect their opinion. So I've kind of been maybe I've been open to the idea of believing these.
So you're open to it, but you don't know if you believe it.
Yeah, I feel like I'd have to kind of have some more concrete evidence for it.
So Bigfoot is one of the more famous cryptids.
Mm-hmm.
There's also people like the Skinwalkers.
Yeah.
El Chupacabra is one of them.
Yep.
Loch Ness Monster, I think, is under that. Which I think Nessie might be real, personally.
You think?
I think that it's just a dinosaur. I don't think it's like a monster, but I do think part of me thinks like a lot of these creatures are just like animals. Some of them, like Bigfoot, which I won't go too much on Bigfoot because we had a whole episode about him last week. Yeah. But Bigfoot is I think Bigfoot is just a native monkey in America. Like they've been mostly killed off. I think there was, I don't know this is a fact, but I'm pretty sure historically the Native Americans claimed that they had a war with Bigfoots, with Sasquatches, and that for a while they would raid their tribes and they would kill them. This is all secondhand information. I don't know if this is true, but from what I've heard, they would also like sacrifice food to the Sasquatches to like to please them, and they would leave them alone. And so like Native Americans and the Sasquatches had like a war, and they fought each other and they killed each other. So I think that's why we don't see them as often and as commonly, is because like they've been kind of killed off.
Interesting.
Which, like, I mean, you think about gorillas and like these big apes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's completely I mean, impossible to imagine.
Yeah.
You know, something that would be similar.
It's like a Sasquatch is taller than a gorilla, but it's not as like wide. Like gorillas are huge. Like there's like I've seen them in person. They're scary. Their eyes, and they're smart. Like chimpanzees, like monkeys and chimps and apes are terrifying.
I mean, I've seen Planet of the Apes. I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't want a Caesar. We don't want that.
Yeah.
So for me, like I feel like at least Bigfoot and like Loch Ness Monster, like I think there is like room for them to be just like almost extinct creatures. But also like as we get more and more further in technology and everyone has like a 4K camera in their pocket, it's kind of crazy that we don't see them.
Yeah, and see, I feel like that's a pretty good argument for, I mean, Bigfoot or really any cryptid not existing is that, you know, you got people with, like you said, 4K, you know, cameras in their pockets. I mean, you'd think that if they did exist, then they would, you know, one of them would slip up and get caught on camera.
Some people argue that the only reason we don't have these like proof that is like, oh yeah, that's real, is the government is hiding them.
Oh yeah.
Like Wesley, he was on the show last week. He said that Teddy Roosevelt was one of the, I think it was Teddy Roosevelt, was one of the presidents who like he established the national parks.
Yeah.
And like Bigfoot is commonly found in national parks.
Right.
Like we've had a couple in Badwater Canyon of Bigfoot witnesses.
Really?
Yeah. Like
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And like a lot of the national parks he like reserved, and also he believed in Bigfoot. So that's kind of suspicious that the government has a hand on like these places that Bigfoot could possibly be in nature. And there's a few stories, which I don't have any proof of like people who claim they shot a Bigfoot, and the government like showed up with suits, or like suits people like showed up and were like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
And just like wiped them, you know, Men in Black kind of shit.
Yeah.
So I'm on the fence about Bigfoot existing. Like I would like to lean towards yes on Bigfoot being real and cryptids being real. But I don't know, it's kind of hard. Like what do you think about that? What do you think?
I mean, I think with like cryptids, but I mean like skinwalkers, kind of the more, you know, kind of mystic sort of creatures, not like, you know, Bigfoot. I mean, if he does exist, or then it's probably just, you know, a giant monkey, you know what I mean? But like a skinwalker is like, I mean, that's some weird like kind of like ghost, like, you know, demon type like stuff that I feel like would be going on there. And I think that that'd be harder to like
duplicate.
Yeah, that, and like it'd be harder to get video or photo evidence of that, you know. And I know that we've kind of talked about this in the past, and like you've, you know, brought up the fact that like Native Americans had specific warnings and rules of like, you know, if you hear somebody screaming for help in the middle of the night, don't go looking for it.
Don't look after them or try to find them. They
which is
whistling. They didn't want you to whistle at night. They wanted you to trust your horse. If your horse started to freak out, like you should freak out, which is still like to this day, like animals have a sense for creatures more than we do.
Yeah. Like
cats, dogs, horses. And I think horses especially are more sensitive to like spiritual, which is interesting because those are like the creatures that were used to travel most places. Like the Native Americans used horses, like cowboys, and you know the settlers who came to America used horses. Like they were our main use of transportation. And if they started to freak out, we would freak out because they were sensing something. Which I don't know. It's wild to me because like you would think that the Native Americans and their different tribes, they wouldn't want to like communicate with each other in that way, and they wouldn't share the same similarities of fears of these creatures. So for me, it's like interesting at the most. And I feel like it's not questioned enough. That's like, well, hold on. Like if they agreed on this, like Skinwalker country, which or like there's like a ranch, like Skinwalker Ranch. Like it's a whole thing there. It's terrifying. I would never want to go anywhere near it. I'm terrified of Skinwalkers.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. Do you fear cryptids? Do you fear Bigfoot or Skinwalkers or?
Yeah. I mean, as a Christian, I mean, I think that like, okay, let's say the Skinwalkers and that kind of thing does exist, and it's some sort of a demonic thing. I think that as a Christian, I believe that in something called, I mean, this is kind of a theological term. It's called regeneration, but basically, where the Holy Spirit causes you to be born again and revives your soul, sort of. But basically, the point I'm trying to get at is, once you become a Christian, then you have the Holy Spirit indwelling in you, and so I think that Christians, like, we don't have anything to fear about any kind of demonic like forces or anything like that, because obviously the Holy Spirit is more powerful than any kind of demonic forces there may be out there. But that doesn't mean they can't cause any kind of like physical, harm.
That's the
which is the scary part, I mean, because they can't do anything to you ultimately, but there is like physical harm that could be done.
You could be scratched. That people have been possessed before by demons, and like, which.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at, is like possession. I don't think you can be possessed if you have the. Well, I mean, I know you can't be possessed if you have the Holy Spirit,
But like physical, like being scratched, or
right,
bitten, or whatever,
or I mean, killed even, I mean,
yeah. But that's not the kind of like spiritual harm, which I guess possession would be under that term.
Mm-hmm.
Which I agree. Like like I'm not terrified in the sense of death, but more so like for me personally, I'm terrified of cryptids. Like if I saw a Skinwalker, if I saw a Bigfoot, I would shit my pants. Like I wouldn't be okay with it. Mainly because I just I don't like it. Like it's not I don't fear my death. Like I don't worry about dying. I know that it's gonna happen whether I like it or not. But the idea of the giant creature attacking me, I don't like it.
Like you hear somebody screaming in the woods, and you're like, well,
yeah. Or I'm whistling at night, and I don't really
summon a Skinwalker.
Yeah. Which like the the property that we've been to with Bryce.
Yep.
And
that's actually a funny story. I feel like we should tell that.
We can if you want to. So we were my grandparents have a property, unnamed location. If I even mention where this would be, I'm sure it'd be easily found out. But we have private land, and Trent was there, and Bryce, someone we're definitely gonna have on the show at some point. We're all walking. It was like midnight. It was late, and this is in the middle of nowhere in a deeply wooded area.
Mm-hmm.
And
not like pine tree sort of wood, like more kind of
there's a lot
bushes.
There's a lot of bushes. There's some trees, not pine trees, but like
taller trees.
It's wet, like West Texas, like trees, like nature. Like whenever you go to like Dallas area, they have a lot of trees and stuff in that area. Like when you go more down to like San Antonio, Houston, Austin, like that deep tree, green Texas kind of vibe. That's kind of the area we're in. And we were walking around, and it was like the middle of the summer. I think it was June.
Yeah.
Because we went down for a festival. So that So we go down for this festival. Well, there's pieces of information we can't reveal because it would reveal the location.
Right, yeah. I almost gave it away.
Because this place is very specific. But we were going, and we were walking, and it was foggy outside because it's a very humid area.
Pretty eerie.
It was a very dense fog. And there was this full moon, and we were walking down this like dirt road. It was like a white dirt road, so we could see everything very clearly.
We're talking about Skinwalkers.
We were talking about Skinwalkers because I personally love to mess with people.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime we're driving through New Mexico in the middle of the night, I will talk about Skinwalkers. One, because I kind of want to see them. Like, I know that if I like mentioned it enough, eventually I'll run into one. So part of me wants to see if I could actually like, which we'll get into that later, why I do that. There's a very specific point of why I do that intentionally, but it's kind of messed up why I do it. But
I was about to say, because a minute ago you were saying you're terrified.
I am, but I also, the thrill of it is, that's a concept we can get into later. Okay. But we were walking and I was talking about Skinwalkers, and we were talking about how basically the same thing we've had in this conversation so far about Skinwalkers. And we were talking about like whistling and how they mimic our voices, and we crossed a certain path and we could hear our voices like coming back to us.
Well, and at first it didn't even sound like our voices. It was just like we heard voices.
Yeah, it was just noises. And we were like, we all kind of stopped talking. And I think I was like, did you guys hear that? And then I heard like that, like echo back to us. And we all kind of were like, what the fuck? Like we were we were freaking out.
It was a little freaky.
And then I think I said something louder and we heard it echo back. And we were at a very specific spot where when we said something, it like our voices were hitting a mountain that was like several miles away. And because we were in the middle of nowhere and there was literally no one else awake, like all we could hear was our voices coming back to us. Which, first off, to me that means that everything around us could also hear our voices.
Yeah,
which is terrifying.
Yeah,
because like if there was something there, they would hear us. But it was pretty weird, and it freaked us all out. We all like, it was funny. We were pretty scared. Yeah, and then we realized it was just our echo, and we all chilled out and we started laughing because it was like so stupid.
Yeah, like it was just weird because we were just talking about it and how like, you know, if you hear somebody screaming in the woods like for help, then it's it could be a skinwalker, and then here we are, you know, talking and you hear voices coming.
It was not a good vibe. Not a good. It was.
Oh wait, it was a good vibe once we figured out. You know, it was just
even then though, it was still foggy and scary, and
it was kind of cool though.
There's a lot of deer in the area, and skinwalkers tend to like take over deers. So if we ever saw a deer during that period, I would have probably ran. Like I would not. I'd not mess with it.
Just leave me and Bryce to fend for ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Like I don't mess with them. So I'll say this: like the reason I talk about skinwalkers, this is an interesting concept. I got this from a pastor who was talking to me about this, but the idea is that like if you seek after something, you'll find it. So as a concept, like if you seek after demons, you'll find a demon. Like if you're looking for a demon, like fully believing in it, acknowledging it, I want to find a demon, you're going to find a demon. And I think that's why we have things, and these are episodes that I want to talk about, like different subjects that I want to talk about later. But there's like a bridge where there's a goat man on it, and I actively think it's a demon that lives on this bridge and this location. It's in Texas. We can go cosmic complexity at location.
Yeah.
But there is a spirit or a demon, and it's a goat spirit who forces people to commit suicide, try to kill themselves, or like choke themselves. There's been people who've gone there who have like had multiple, like it's pretty crazy,
pretty weird
how commonly it happens. And I fully believe in that. Like we're Christians, we believe in demons, we believe in demonic possession, and it's not far-fetched for me to like believe in that.
Yeah.
But I think the reason that we see that so commonly in that location is because they go there looking after a specific demon, which I believe lives there. Of course, that demon's going to reveal himself because he has nothing to hide. We've already acknowledged his existence.
Yeah.
And like the idea of seeking after something and you will find it, I think is fair for both finding God and finding demons. Like I think if you seek after demonic power, like looking after like some demon taking over you or experiencing demons, you will experience it. I don't think it's good to. I would highly not encourage that. But I do think like if you seek after something evil, you will run into it.
Yeah.
In the same sense of like wanting to find, say, a skinwalker, which I believe are demons. Like the reason I talk about them so much is because I don't fear them, because I know that like in the end, if they do harm me, God is on my side. And also if we use the Bible to our knowledge, there's the what you can say to demons to defend them, which is like through the power of Christ in me. What I'm talking about? There's a passage where it's like if you run into.
I mean, I know that like Jesus talks about that. Well, I mean, okay. Well,
I think it's a verse. I think
there's a. I think it's in Paul somewhere, one of Paul's letters, but basically it says that he who is in me is greater than he who is in the world. So like in other words, the God is greater than who is in us as Christians is greater than he who is in the world, which would be the devil and the demonic forces and stuff like that. So I think that like that'd be a good reference. Just like that there's really nothing like ultimately any kind of ultimate harm that could be done to us by any kind of demonic stuff. But yeah, no, it's funny that you mentioned the goat man because I remember at camps and stuff whenever I was younger, like in middle school, we would tell like stories about goat man and like these kind of like ghost stories. And I remember it kind of freaked me out because I was like, man, that sounds kind of terrifying. Goat man, like yeah. There's some crazy stories that they would tell. But.
Which I also think like Ouija boards are also like activating.
Oh yeah,
spirits and
definitely.
I think it's silly to be like spirits aren't real and demons aren't real. It's like yes they are. Like you have so much proof of that, historically, and you have people who have like been taken over. Like we have movies about it. Like, and I think culturally it's quite more commonly accepted, and that's why some Christians don't watch horror movies in their homes because they're like, I don't want to welcome a demon into my home, and like that's understandable. I do think like Hollywood movies. I don't think we're welcoming demons into our home, but also I respect the idea of like not wanting to bring that into your home. Like I tend to avoid like demonic movies.
Yeah. I think it's more of it's not even like letting anything into your home. It's just kind of more of a like, this is like a real thing. And you just don't want to make light of things that are real and
possession
and present and serious,
conjuring and But for me, whenever I talk about Skinwalkers and I'm like, oh, I want to talk about this, is like I'm kind of opening my door for like the ability to see one. It's like, in which I always do it in like a safe space, except for that time in that undisclosed location. I usually try to talk about them in places that like we're safe. So if I'm driving a car, a Skinwalker's on the side of the road, we're okay. But like, I would never do it while we were camping.
Oh gosh!
Like if we were camping down in the canyon, like Paladera Canyon.
Yeah. Oh well, I feel like we talked about it in the canyon. Though. Well, okay, maybe I tried bringing it up, and you're like,
I think I shut it.
Oh yeah, and
because I know
I remember that.
I know there are places where there's Native Americans have been, and I do think like we're in an area here, like we're pretty close to New Mexico. We're still pretty close to like a bunch of different areas that Skinwalkers could be, and I try not to talk about them when we're out and exposed in the location. But like I do think they can be. I do think they're real, and I do fear them, but I also like don't fear the presence of them. Like I know that they could harm me physically, sure, but I also know that if I were to die from a Skinwalker, first off, that's dope as hell. All right, that's a way to go out. All right, a deer turned into a human and killed me, and you saw it, or it killed both of us.
That'd be terrifying.
Yeah, but like, it's kind of cool.
Saying we should go down to the Powder Canyon and fight a Skinwalker?
What if
bring some swords?
What if to like launch this show, we just do a bunch of like in-person things like that, or we go? I would honestly be down to make that a YouTube video where me and you go into the canyon searching after a Skinwalker and find nothing, of course. But it would be pretty funny if we're like, this is our podcast, and we're like, we're gonna go look for Skinwalkers now.
That would be funny.
But I think we kind of went on a little tangent with Skinwalkers, but they are cryptids and they are creatures, and I think the idea of them being a demon is pretty. I want to say progressive, but I'm not sure if that's the right word. But it's very like it can kind of apply to most of these creatures. Like Bigfoot could be a demon, very well.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with Bigfoot, I would almost lean on the side of it's just a monkey, you know. And
I am too, but I do have a good theory for Bigfoot.
Yeah,
hear me out.
Okay,
hear me out. I know where you're coming from.
Yeah,
but think about it like this: Bigfoot is an idol, actively praised by so many people, sought after by so many people. There are statues, there are tattoos, there are stickers, there are paintings.
Yeah,
like Bigfoot is almost a cult following. There is a cult following. There's Reddits. There are people who like dedicate their life to finding this creature.
Yeah.
Okay, so an idol, something that people fixate on. I would argue, I'm not saying Bigfoot's an idol. Okay, I don't believe this fully. I'm just theorizing. Okay, but maybe just open your eyes for a little bit, just for a minute. Just think about it in this perspective. So Bigfoot could be an idol. I think he could be a demon, which, what do demons want? Us to idolize something other than God. So if it was a creature like Bigfoot who knew that his not being seen often, but seen every now and then and being witnessed by other people, he would know that, and he would know that it feeds into that cult and that want to see him, and that kind of want to find him, and also his ability to disappear. And like some people argue he's an interdimensional being. That is a theory that
that is interesting.
That Bigfoot will travel between dimensions, which like if it's a demon, who knows?
Yeah.
Right? Like they might have powers too. God might have powers to. Well, probably he is God. God does have powers to travel through dimensions.
If there are dimensions.
If there were to be dimensions, but if there were to be,
next episode,
God would know that. That's next episode. We'll talk about that later. Does God know about dimensions?
If they exist,
I would say yes. I mean,
if they exist, yes. But the question is if they do exist.
But if
we're getting way off the topic here.
But God would know. So anyway, the dimensional beings of Bigfoot could be just a demon being able to travel back and forth and have that ability to do so. And also, going back to the Native Americans who would offer this creature food and sacrifices so that it would be pleased and leave them alone. I mean, a demon would want to emulate God and try to be worshipped and feared and powerful and want sacrifices. I mean, it's not. I don't know. I can't confidently say I believe this, and I think this is absolutely true. But I do think it is an interesting perspective on Bigfoot because it's like demons' main focus is to take us away from God. They want to take our focus away from God, fixation away from God. They also want us to fear them. You know, they like the idea of fear. You have demons like Legion, who had 50 demons inside of him,
something like that.
And you know, all of these different, like the little kid who had a demon inside of him who kept trying to kill himself. That Jesus, you know, he, what's the word? Try to find the word. Help me.
Took the demon out.
Exorcised. He took the demon, exorcised. Yeah, he exorcised the demon out of this little kid, and the little kid's parents were like, "This child has been trying to kill himself since he was like 3." Like that is a biblical. I think it's in Luke. That is a biblical story that happens. I want to say Luke chapter 9 or 8. It was one of the chapters where Jesus is performing miracles. You can kind of find that, but just read through the entire chapter of Luke from start to finish, and you'll find it. It's in there somewhere. If not Luke, Matthew, Mark, or John, you know, just read through all 4 of them, and you'll find it.
Just read them. It's in there somewhere.
It's in it's in the Bible somewhere. Just read the whole book, honestly, and you'll find it.
Cover to cover.
Cover to cover.
You got to read the appendix and everything.
Yeah, you got to read the appendix. Got to read through the maps. Got to read through everything.
Yeah, study the map.
Study them. But like demons are creatures that they want the worst for us. Yeah. They want to harm us. They want to scare us. They want to, and so for me, like I think Bigfoot has shown signs of that. And it wouldn't be far-fetched if, I were to see a demon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd be like, that is a creature I don't understand, I don't know, and I fear. Like,
Yeah.
I sense that this creature wants to hurt me, or I don't like it. I've seen demons before, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the feeling of it. And we can talk about demons another episode. I think those stories are definitely ones that I want to record, but not for this episode. Just keep listening, subscribe to the podcast. But I do think that Bigfoot is a demon. I do think that maybe not one to that extent, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bigfoot is a demon, because I could say the same for Skinwalkers.
Yeah.
And I could say the same for Loch Ness Monster, because they're creatures who are very highly sought after and almost worshipped to a point, and it would make sense for a demon to want that. And it would also make sense why they're not captured on camera as much.
Yeah.
Why we don't see them as much.
Because it was just like a giant monkey walking around.
Well, what do you think? I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just telling you my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
have you ever thought about it like that?
No. But I think at the same time, it's like, I mean, like the Loch Ness Monster. I can kind of see where you're coming from with Bigfoot, but I don't know about the Loch Ness Monster. I don't even think that it exists, to be honest, because I think the stuff like that, it's not so much like a demon trying to take our focus off of God or whatever. I think it's just like folktale stuff, and it's not even just stuff that people would tell, passed from generation to generation. And I mean, because I think that a lot of that, because I mean, you could just as easily say that about any legend or anything like that, any kind of Greek mythology legend. It was just a demon,
It could be. I mean,
but
do you think that's like just a band-aid over it, and just kind of like a runoff, like it's just a demon, or do you think it's like it very possibly could have just been a demon?
I mean, I like I said, I can see where you're coming from with like Bigfoot, and I mean, I think Skinwalkers, if they do exist, then
they exist.
Probably is some sort of a demon.
They're out there.
Thing. Well, hey, that's yet to be discovered. We'll see what happens whenever we go down to the canyon. And,
dude, I'm totally down to do that this summer. Like,
yeah,
we can
start whistling, and
we can shoot it in July.
Yeah,
we can rent out a campsite.
Oh yeah, cabin.
No, a campsite. I'm talking. Okay. We're gonna sleep out in the wilderness.
No tent.
No tent. No, I'm not doing that.
We wake up and just standing over us like,
dude, don't even say that.
Yeah, that is terrible.
Okay, what about sirens?
Okay, like mermaids?
No, mermaids are completely different.
Same thing.
No. Mermaids are just like, mermaids aren't trying to kill you. They're just like, they're what sailors saw as like a hot babe in the ocean with a fish bottom.
Yeah, but isn't that the whole point? They would lure them in with like their.
So sirens will sing.
Yeah,
and they'll also kind of scream, but they're like singing and they're screaming would, like, according to the folklore, like it would like hypnotize people, and it would like try to bring them out into the ocean. Now I thought sirens were very fake. Like I didn't believe in them until recently. There was a video that surfaced, and it was from like an oil rig, and like it makes me upset because. And it also makes me kind of terrified because these videos often I can't find again.
Yeah.
After I see them. Like I've seen videos of Skinwalkers. I've seen videos of Bigfoot. I've seen videos of audios of Bigfoot.
Is it usually on TikTok or is it
on
YouTube?
The internet, just as a whole?
Anywhere. Yeah.
Sometimes it's on Twitter. Sometimes it's on TikTok. But often it's not very popular or blown up. Like it's kind of lower and smaller, and it's weird that I get them. But there's a video, and it just came up on my For You page. It wasn't like I was looking into them, and it was a guy, and he was speaking some sort of language. I couldn't tell you what language he was speaking, and he was on I think it was an oil rig, which is like, oil rigs are in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
and he was like freaking out, and he kept turning the camera to the ocean, and it was like in the middle of the night in the ocean. You can't see anything.
Yeah.
But waves were crashing, and he was shining the light, and he was trying to find this thing, and he was telling it to stop. And there was just like this screaming, like high pitched sound that was coming from the ocean, and it wasn't like added on, like it was mixed in with the waves. It was hard to hear. Like it wasn't like like very clearly like going out. It was like mixed into the sound.
Yeah.
And like this is going to somebody who edits and he works on sound and he makes sure that everything sounds like I know mixing and I know how sound works.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that. Like it wasn't mixed in. It was like genuinely coming from the ocean.
Mm.
And it sounded like someone's like singing a song or screaming to learn. And like the dude's like talking, he had genuine fear. It was weird. It was just a weird video. Like I finished watching it and I was unsettled. Like I wasn't scared or uncomfortable. Like I was just like, the vibe of that video was just like I didn't like it. Like I didn't like how it made me feel. I didn't like what it foretold. It also made me kind of like rethink Sirens because I was like, well, you know, the oceans were very broad and a lot of the people who traveled back and forth from the oceans were alone. They had no lights, they had no books, they had nothing, and like no contact with anybody. And like imagine being stranded in the ocean and you just hear like this terrifying screeching scream and you look into the ocean, there's like this demonic creature in the waves staring at you singing the song. Like that to me is like borderline scarier than a Skinwalker.
Oh yeah.
It's like that's kind of
because the ocean itself is pretty terrifying.
Yeah, because we don't know what's in there.
Yeah.
And then that kind of for me, I was like, okay, well yeah, of course the demon could be in the ocean. Demon could be anywhere really. Like they could be whatever they want to do. They can change form. They can possess things. We've seen demons possess pigs, right? Like Jesus sent them into pigs. So we know that they can possess animals. So like it's not super far-fetched for like a ocean creature to be a demon also. Which is why I'm kind of like maybe Loch Ness could be a demon. But also I don't think like Loch Ness is a demon that flows around in the lake or whatever. And it's just like just living to make people. I think it's actually like personally, I think that Bigfoot isn't one demon. Skinwalkers isn't one demon. Loch Ness Monster isn't one demon. Sirens aren't one demon. I think it's multiple demons who change and form into whatever they want. And if they see a human and they want to scare it, or they know that they can like entertain it in some shape or form, they'll take a form of what they know that they'll recognize, which could be a Loch Ness Monster or a Skinwalker or Bigfoot. Like Skinwalkers are like they change form.
Yeah,
that's their whole thing. They can turn into humans. They can change into deer. They can change into this four-legged creature. For me, I think like demons can transform into whatever they want to. We've seen angels do that. Like angels will transform into humans. They'll transform into like their actual form where they have like multiple faces, that they have a lion, you know, the multiple eyes and the wings. Like, and some demons are fallen angels, which means that they still have that ability to change form. So for me, I think it's I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, I'm not trying to convince you, but this is just what I think about it. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, and the thing with Sirens, I mean, you know, like I said, the ocean is like huge, and like we don't even know.
Huge ocean.
Huge ocean.
Absolutely huge. We don't need to know anything about it. Sorry.
Ginormous.
Ginormous ocean.
Beautiful ocean.
Beautiful sirens. Beautiful boobies. Huge boobies.
but yeah, and you know, we there's a lot we don't know about, and there's a lot that's undiscovered. But yeah, I really don't know. But I do remember you kind of mentioned Sirens. I remember one time I was at a friend's house, and this was back whenever I was like 12, like 10 or 12. I was pretty young. I was at a friend's house, staying the night over there, and I don't know if you've ever caught the Discovery Channel or the History Channel past 12 a.m.
all the time.
It is wild, dude.
It's unhinged.
Yeah, like
it used to be. I think it's better now.
Yeah, it probably is. But anyways, the TV was just going. Like he didn't turn the TV off, and I mean it was just going.
Oh no!
And I woke up in the middle of the night, and it was like this weird, like Animal Planet, like documentary type thing that was going on, but it was about like sirens, like mermaids. Like they're talking about how they like found what would be like sirens or mermaids, and it was this like weird looking like fish thing with they like had kind of a face, and Yeah, and I remember that like freaked me out. We live in West Texas, and I'm sitting here being scared of like sirens. Like, oh my gosh, they're gonna come get me, And I don't think I slept that night.
That's fair though.
Kind of freaked me out.
I mean, like think about it. These like sailors, like sure they would go stir crazy.
Yeah.
And like they would also drink a ton.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of drinking going on, but still. If I was drunk and I saw a siren in the ocean, I would remember that shit. Like not to rub off like, yeah, they were just drunk and that's whatever. Like they probably were just making it up. Even still, if I was a demon and I wanted to fuck with somebody, I would do it while they were drunk.
Yeah. Because then they wouldn't even know.
But again,
what did I say?
That's just what I believe. It's not, it's not foolproof. I know nothing, but I do think that it is quite a scary kind of concept.
Yeah, it's not out of the picture.
I also would say the History Channel shit, none of that is real.
Yeah.
I think the UFO stuff, I think the Bigfoot stuff, I think the ghost stuff, they kind of tied into that kind of cultural excitement for those things because it was pretty big in the early 2010s. Yeah. It's so sad to say that we're getting old, Trent.
I know. Already in our 20s.
Yeah. Look at us. Old in our 20s.
We're old men.
21 and 20 and what are we gonna do? Our youth is gone.
Youth these days, man.
Youth these days. But I do think I don't think that that would be seen on TV. Like if they did find Bigfoot, which they might have, I don't think they would have showed it on TV.
Yeah.
I don't think the government would have allowed that. I do think that there's more going on with the government and these creatures than is let on. Mm-hmm. Like Skinwalker Ranch, Area 51, Bigfoot, national parks. I think that if they're willing to hide UAPs, which are the aliens that are floating around, if they're willing to hide that and then just be like, all right, we'll expose it. We'll agree that these are creatures that you guys have been seeing, but now we're gonna acknowledge it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be surprising if they were like, yeah, Bigfoot's real.
Yeah.
And we've been monitoring him and protecting them. So that because listen, Wesley's stories about Bigfoot were pretty crazy.
Yeah, I'm curious to listen to the episode.
You will hear the episode, and if you haven't listened to episode 3, I know the audio quality is shit. I'm sorry once again, but it is worth the listen because the stories alone are crazy good. We might have to later on in the show bring Wesley back so we can retell the story a little better. It might even get him to call his dad, who also had a story.
Okay.
It was a great third episode. It was very last minute, and we're still pretty new with this, but it was a pretty crazy scenario going on there. But also, side note, this is completely off of the topic of cryptids, but I do think it's really... So they discovered a couple of animals, and one of them was a fish with legs.
Like a Darwin fish?
It was a fish with legs. It was discovered. How does that make you feel? Some people are saying it's like proof of evolution.
Yeah.
Because it's like a fish with legs, which is like what people said we evolved from. What do you think?
I mean, what kind of legs was it?
It was legs.
Like full on legs?
4 legs.
Oh, it had 4 legs?
It was a fish with 4 legs.
That is interesting. Where'd they find it?
It was at the bottom of the ocean.
Dude, who knows what's down there, man? And also, why would a fish be evolving to have legs? Well, okay. If it was evolving to become a land animal, then it would be further up towards the surface,
What if it's evolving down there to come back to the surface?
So is it just gonna
it swam down
to the top, right?
It swam down to recharge its batteries so that it can
and it didn't get crushed somehow.
Yeah, some dumbass kid is just gonna crush it with his bucket of sand.
Well, no, I mean it didn't get crushed by the water pressure.
No.
Yeah, you guys didn't see that, but we had solid 3 seconds of intense eye contact
while our knees were touching each other.
Yeah,
it was quite sensual.
But no, anyways, I mean, okay, the bottom of the ocean, who knows what's down there? So maybe that the thing needs legs to somehow go about its day to day,
I think
survival.
Kraken's down there. Megalodon.
Oh, I think you said that there's crackheads down there.
Definitely crackheads.
I mean, there might be crackheads down there.
Homeboy Matt is definitely down there.
Yeah, Matt's down there
Matt is my, for context, Matt is my ex-neighbor who was crazy, and he would tweak out at 5 a.m. like 3 times a week. He was pretty lit.
Wow. 5 a.m.
He was crazy. He threatened to break the windows of my house. I almost got into a couple of fights with him. Part of me was begging for him to break any of my windows so I'd have a reason to beat the shit out of him. And that's not because I'm an aggressive cis male. Okay. I just really didn't like this guy. But I hope that God loves him and he deserves God's grace.
Hey, Matt, if you're listening to this, just don't take it personally, all right?
Matt, don't take it personally.
Get off the drugs, all right?
And don't take the crack anymore, please.
Hope you're doing okay.
Or the heroin. I also witnessed a drug deal from a gang in
at your old house.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Honestly, it was like something out of a movie. This is completely off dog, but I mean, I can tell you guys have already listening. You know, I'm sure you're on your seats. You're on the highway. You know,
you're already 50 minutes in.
You're driving. 15 minutes.
No, I said 50.
Oh, I thought you said 15. I was like, hey, we're like almost an hour in here. We're almost at the end of the episode. Hey, we've already talked about our subject. We can just kind of talk now. This is the laid back aspect of the show because it doesn't have to be. We talked about the subject of the episode. Now we can just talk. So like, have I not told you this story?
I don't think so.
So
maybe you did. Well, is this the one where like they had a bag and left it at the door or something like that?
No, that was a different time I witnessed a drug deal. This is like, I don't think this was a drug deal. I think this was a drug lord. Like, I think I actually like saw like 2 different gang members or drug lords. Like, dang. It was crazy. So I was chilling at my house, and I lived in these apartments, and I was on the bottom floor, and I had this huge window in my bedroom, and it didn't seal super well, so I could hear outside pretty well. And I was like laying on my phone, rotting, watching TikTok, and like I heard this like major bass boosting, like, and I was like, what is that? And I like kind of like look up, and I see this car, and it's like a Lincoln, like the nice black car, and it pulls up, and it pulls under the awning of my back, like in the parking for my apartments was behind my house or my apartment, so I could see the parking for everybody. Yeah. I could also see my car. I was driving a Honda at the time, and I could see that, which was like a couple of car spots away from this. So this car pulls up and he parks, and the music is boosting, and it's like 2 a.m. And I was like, I don't recognize this car, and it's way too nice for these apartments. Like the nicest car there was mine, and it was a 2005 Honda Pilot. All right, that says a lot. So I was like, that's weird that this car's here at this time. Maybe they're just chilling or something. Yeah. And then like another car pulled up, and it's also another like super nice like Lincoln 2023 car. And I was like, what? And he pulls up next to this other car, and they're just sitting there next to each other for a little bit. And then like the 2 doors open from the passenger sides, and like on both doors comes out like a bodyguard.
Oh my gosh.
Like a dude in all black, like hand in his like jacket. Yeah. Like a bodyguard.
Yeah. Like ready to pull a gun.
Like, and it was like these 2 dudes, and they were huge, and they were looking around, and they were scanning things, and they scanned towards my window, and I like immediately ducked down because I was like, fuck that.
You think they saw you?
No, because I kept watching, because I was like immediately I saw the bodyguards come out, and I was like, oh shit, this is like a movie. Like, I was like, what am I witnessing here? And so I'm like peeking, and I like made sure all of my lights were off. It was just me. Yeah. And I also kept my distance from the window so you couldn't see my face, because I'm white as shit. And thankfully it was pretty dark. It's not a super well lit parking lot. Yeah. And which perfect location for them. Like they definitely had a great location. Like if I was gonna do a drug lord meeting, it would be here. Like I understood why they chose it. Yeah. Which didn't help the case. So I was watching these guys, and like both the bodyguards are standing out, and they're looking around, and then like one of the other doors opens in the back door, and a guy leaves the back door of the other car and goes into the other car, and they talk for like no less than 5 minutes. Wow. And then they both leave and drive away.
That is weird.
And like the bodyguards went inside. I was worried because I was like, yo, if I had like a gang fight go on in my backyard, I'm going to be freaking out.
Yeah. That's, yeah.
So thankfully that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But.
Just a friendly meeting.
Yeah. And like, I could have gotten license plates. And I could have like gotten like names of the people there or like the faces of the people there. I didn't because I knew that the people that I was looking at were not the kind of people that like I would want to fuck with.
Yeah.
Like I was like, even if they would get a hint of like somebody witnessing them,
right,
they would figure it out. Like I was like, I don't
come for you.
Like even if I did it anonymously, the location was so specific. It was right outside my window, and I was like, nah.
Yeah.
Nah.
Just let it be.
Yeah.
Just let it be.
Yeah, that was the time I witnessed. I'm pretty sure like drug lords like meeting.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I live in a much nicer home now.
Yeah.
I would never let my fiance anywhere near those apartments. Like,
yeah,
we were not going to be living there. No. Maybe the townhouse because it was a little more like secured. Mm-hmm. But even then, I was like, I don't know.
Well, not anymore.
No. Well, I think it's still renting it out now. I think people are living there now. But
that's crazy.
I don't know that. Anyways, that was completely.
No, that's a cool story though. I never heard that. That's insane.
It was crazy. It was one of the more crazier, different things. I found this in the mountains. Found a knife that I found. I found a knife in the mountains. It was in a river in New Mexico.
That's actually kind of a cool knife.
Thanks. It's a gutting knife, I think.
Nice. Or
a good fighting knife. It's got a good like hand grip on it. Like if I want to, if I ever have drug lords outside my window,
yeah,
I'll make sure to use this knife.
Yeah, you can mess them up with that thing.
But, anyways, we're rounding up on the last 3 minutes of the episode. And Trent, do you have anything you learned? Has your perspective changed a little bit? Like, what do you think? Do you think you look at cryptids a little differently now? We started this episode with you not even knowing what a cryptid is, so I feel like
Well, I mean, I think I knew like what it was. I just didn't really know it by that like definition or name. Yeah. But no, yeah. I mean, we've talked about skinwalkers and stuff like that before. So I don't know if I really got any. Well, yeah, I don't know if I really learned anything new, but definitely some things to think about in terms of with Bigfoot and the Sirens. And I'm curious to hear Wes's story now because maybe that'll.
This is a great episode.
Yeah.
Like, which also like if you guys are watching this and if you're on YouTube, I think is the only website that it's on right now. I want to get it on all platforms. I'm still working on how to figure that out. But if you were to watch this and you have any suggestions or stories or pieces of information for us to look into, like I want to work on us getting a email set out for that where you can email us different things that you've like witnessed or seen or stories, or even if you want to be on the show. I think that'd be really fun to kind of start getting people on the show.
Yeah.
And
maybe we'll turn into those guys with night vision goggles looking for Bigfoot. Maybe that'll be me and you.
That honestly, I feel like that's up my alley when it comes to content that I could produce. Like I feel like we could, like, if I were to make a series on YouTube hunting something, I would do it for real. Like, I wouldn't do the fake stuff. Like, I feel like there's some YouTubers who do, no shade being thrown here, but I feel like there are some YouTubers who, like, it's kind of fake.
Yeah.
And kind of tying into, like, the History Channel vibe. But I feel like if we were to make something, I would make it as real as possible.
Yeah.
Even if it meant not finding something and not being entertaining, I'd rather us make something that was like, yeah, we found nothing instead. But also, like, again, I am totally down for us going into, like, Paladori Canyon.
I'll do it once.
Like, we both get, like, hammered. We're just in the canyon, which is illegal. We would never do that, government. But imagine us just in the canyon, just, like, sloshed. Like, where's Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Is it Skinwalker? Demons?
Bigfoot?
Demons, where you at? Demons, show yourself. Show yourself, you demon. I'll find you.
Yeah. That's funny.
I think we could find him.
Yeah, I mean, no hard enough. Yeah, we didn't really.
Should we bring weapons? I don't think weapons are allowed in the canyon, though.
Well, I mean, you can.
I can bring this knife.
I feel like knives are allowed.
Listen, here, just listen to this.
Got a knife.
Listen to this knife sound effect.
ASMR.
Shh. Quiet. Oh.
That was crisp.
That was the knife. I don't know how to show it. I can't really put it in the episode. This is not a video.
Just imagine a knife.
if we did record this as a video, I don't know what we would look like. It'd be like both of us really close to each other.
Well, and then I'm kind of
you're also
a little bit lower.
But you're taller than me, so our heads are the same like length, which is it kind of works out because the microphone needs to pick up both of our voices.
Yeah.
But anyways, with that, thank you guys for listening to Cosmic Complexity. If you've been listening for the past couple episodes and you've been kind of on the fence, I hope this wins you over a little bit more. And if you're a new listener, thank you for listening and consider subscribing. We're going to have a new episode every week for as long as we can manage. We're currently a good 4 months ahead. So
let's go.
Let's go. With that, keep your guys' minds open to the complexity of the universe. And thank you for joining us and pondering the questions of stupidity and genuine trying to understand. And once again, we're not trying to convince you. We're just trying to open your mind. And you guys have a good night. Peace. You want to say anything, Trent? You want to say goodbye?
I think you wrapped it up nicely. So.
All right. Adios. You want to say goodbye? You say goodbye too.
Oh yeah.
Goodbye. You have to.
Goodbye.
You're my co-host, so we have to say no. We have to say goodbye at the same time.
At the same time. All
right. I'll do a countdown.
3. Oh, sorry.
We're gonna get this. This is our first episode together, so
we'll work all this out in the next.
I'll do the countdown.
All right.
Should I do it? Should I do it verbally or should I do it?
Oh yeah, to where they can't see it.
I'll do it.
Start over.
All right. You ready?
All right. Yeah.
Bye.
Goodbye.
I did the 4. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I kind of.
Oh, hold on. What's going on here?
You delete the file?
No. All right. Bye.